Thank you, Jim. Everybody ready for a great conference? We really have, I think, a great conference committee, a great bunch of people who put this together. But I have the honor and privilege right now of thanking our sponsors who also contributed to making this possible. So I'd like to start out by thanking, once again, our platinum sponsors. And of course, we've heard from CoreLogic, we have Osseo Data, and TransUnion also to thank. As I mention these companies, I'd like representatives from the companies to stand up. So let me do this one at a time. CoreLogic. Osseo Data. TransUnion. And then moving to our gold sponsors, we have representatives from Deveris. Representatives from FRS. And then, of course, our sponsors for silver sponsors, TaskWorks. And Sentinel Screening. And then we have the specific event sponsors or other sponsors, the Board of Directors meeting, Arnold, Gold, and Gregory. They're, of course, our legislative partners, legislative lobbyists. Montserrat, to you. The flash drive sponsors, Verisys. Reference Pro. And then our hotel key cards, Osseo Data. And then our lanyards, TaskWorks again. And our Monday breakfast, backgroundchecks.com. And our new member reception, the background investigator. The registration area, Innovative. The wall of ideas, advanced background check. Digital Delve. Rapid Court. And Wholesale Screening Solutions. Okay, did we get them all? We did. Okay, and to our conference sponsors, to every single one of you, heartfelt thanks for stepping up and helping this conference. Again, we're very grateful to your help, your financial help, and your commitment to this association. So thank you all once again. Okay, now as the incoming chair, I get to give you some sense of my vision for the association. And by way of introduction, I want to say that while preparing for this talk, I conceived the most brilliant, pithy, inspiring talk ever delivered to this august group. In it, I plan to deliver some of the many answers to the unanswerable questions of the universe to amaze and delight you. But then I started to write it all down, and I lost all the good parts, so you're stuck with what's left. Before I get too far in my remarks, I wanted to go ahead and thank the committees, the committee chairs, all of our board members, and especially our chair for this past year. Teresa has not been in the spotlight for many of you, but she has worked tirelessly. She's been a champion for you throughout the year. And this has been a difficult year, but Teresa has been a rock, and she's been a steady hand guiding us through these patches. So, once again, now, as I alluded, NAPBS has had another busy year. Later on, you'll hear from Government Relations. On Tuesday, you'll hear all about the activities in which our committees have been engaged. But suffice it to say that there have been weeks for many NAPBS volunteers who've had to give as much time to NAPBS as they've given to their paying jobs. But that's what makes NAPBS great. We have great members and great participation. Now, in a recent journal article, I called out to our members, called out to you, and indicated that it's now more important than ever to be involved. And I know it seems hard, but we need your help even in small ways. You don't have to accept a major project or a major commitment to contribute to the success of this organization. And it can be fun, working with your colleagues and learning from competing companies. We're all concerned about earning the next dollar to put food on our plates and those of our employees next week. But this association is about all of us helping to earn that dollar next year and the year after that. And that takes a total commitment. Our industry is in a struggle for survival. Never before have the forces aligned to change our industry been so coordinated. And never before has the political climate been so inclined to listen for those calls to change. Within the past year, we've seen growing ban-the-box movements, attacks on use of credit reports for employment purposes, and calls for curbing the use of criminal records altogether. With rising unemployment and scarce jobs, second chance advocates become more vocal about the looming danger of a permanent underclass of unemployable ex-offenders. Complicating this political climate, the EEOC is on the verge of releasing new guidance regarding the use of both credit and criminal records. And because of the structure of the EEOC, they're not required to seek public comment on their guidance, so it's not likely to be moderated by public opinion or practical experience. If you haven't already, you'll be hearing more about Bloomstein and Nakamura's studies on the concept of redemption, which seeks to answer the question, how long since committing an offense is a person no more likely to re-offend than the person who's never been convicted? Now, we can debate their specific findings, we can debate their methods, but it's crystal clear now that if it never was before, that it's our job to educate our clients that bright line disqualifications due to criminal records are wrong, and that any decisions based on our reports must take into account if the crime is in any way related to the job, that it's in fact serious enough to matter, and that it's recent enough to matter. We can't turn our backs on our duty to educate. Increasingly, rightly or wrongly, we're being held complicit in the actions and decisions of our clients. Well, why is all this happening? Well, apart from the concern about redemption and second chances, we face two fundamental problems. The first is that the public, many politicians, and most of our opponents don't understand what we do. For us in the NAPBS, this means that we must step up our public relations and education efforts. This will mean that we must continue our efforts to publish white papers and studies. It means that we must continue our lobbying efforts on the Hill and in the states. It means that we must look for more outlets for success stories. It means that we must continue our efforts to join and become active in coalitions of like-minded associations. And it means that we need more of our members to become more active to make these efforts possible. The second problem that we face is that of sloppy, incomplete, and inaccurate background research. We've heard this in our EEOC meetings in DC. We heard this at the Cornell Law Conference many of us attended in New York City. We have heard and read this repeatedly in the media. Now, Montserrat and the Government Relations Committee will tell us more about those meetings. And personally, I like to believe that all this talk about poor research is not about NAPBS members, because we do have high standards of research and ethics. But we are lumped into a general pool of background providers, and it's therefore up to us to demonstrate the difference. To that end, the board has asked the Best Practices Committee to draft a position paper on best practices for criminal research. This may be the single most important and impactful document they ever produce. We hope that this will lay to rest some of the concerns about shoddy research and help to highlight our standards and differentiate NAPBS members from the wild west of data cowboys out there. You'll be hearing more about this and other ongoing efforts. Also, I would like to see this year as the year of accreditation. Accreditation is a program that was conceived specifically for times like this, to silence our critics, or at least help them to differentiate NAPBS members from the irresponsible. Now, I'm not suggesting that if you're not accredited, you're irresponsible. But we are seeing that accusation leveled in the press. Recent media articles have suggested that even though NAPBS has an accreditation program, few are accredited, which is proof, in their view, that the industry does not care